All right. Well, thanks everybody for being here. It's an exciting day for all Demon Deacons out there. I want to start quickly, just an address, how appreciative Candace and I and our family are. Since the moment we got here 11 months ago, the support of the Board of Trustees, our athletic administration, President Wente, all of our alumni, supporters. Bob McCreary is a special man, and he made all this possible. So this is a place that we want to be. We love Winston-Salem. We love Wake Forest. When John approached me a couple weeks ago, it's an honor. So just excited about being here, excited about what it means for our program, excited about the investment Wake Forest wants to make in our players, our support staff, and the vision that we've created going forward. So that partnership has been really key, and just honored to represent Wake Forest moving forward. And like I said, our family is really appreciative of that. Fast forward another 12 hours, right, this morning. This is my favorite signing day because I didn't have to wake up at 3 a.m. Right, you're on the West Coast. Those early East Coast signees are pretty early, but 30 members of the Demon Deacon family from all over the country, all over the world. I think you saw Sweden and Ghana in there. Want to give a bunch of thanks. Rob Schlager, our general manager, is the best in the business. Katie Basin, our director of player personnel, all of our scouts and scouting department. Our recruiting department with Ty Gadsden, Maggie Mullen, Joel Diaz, Romero. Just incredible the amount of work that they've done to put this group together. Our coaching staff, our support staff. In the summer, our coaches' wives are involved recruiting all these guys. To the restaurants, to the faculty and staff that spend their time with these young men. I think it's a really impressive class. I don't get into all the rankings. Will's got me a bunch of sheets of papers here that says all this stuff about how high these guys are ranked. It's about their character, it's about their toughness, and it's about everything they've done throughout the course of this recruiting process to earn this opportunity to sit in these seats. And I think that's a really, really big deal. Obviously, this is the biggest class in Wake Forest history. I think that was big to really reset the foundation of Wake Forest football. There are no shortcuts to success, right? And having the ability to sign these guys I thought has been really, really special. Just wrote down a couple of quick highlights. These guys have a 78% winning percentage in high school. Okay, we love winners. We love guys that know how to win, that want to win, that crave winning. I think that's big. They have an average GPA of 3.49. Okay, they want to be challenged in everything that they do, from the classroom to the field to the workouts. Something really, really important there for us. Obviously, we just signed the highest rated recruit in Wake Forest history. 5 players from North Carolina, 18 multi-sport athletes. Biomechanics, anthropometrics, yes, I learned those words this morning, okay, are important to us in the functional movements of these guys. We have 10 guys over 6'4 plus. There's just a lot of things that it just really brings a lot of excitement to me in the future, and so proud of our staff and all the work that goes into signing these guys. This morning was flawless, and just excited now about having a full 365 days for our next class. The excitement of the season was felt in this group. In the summer, we were selling hope and optimism, if I'm being fully honest, right? You guys laying the foundation of what's next. Obviously, as the season unfolded, we were selling, man, what an opportunity and something special that we're building here. So it just takes everybody. I know I'm up here talking about these 30 guys, but what a special class. We'll get an opportunity to talk about all these guys through questions, but really proud of everyone that we've brought in here, where they're from, who they are, and their potential ceiling and their vision that we have created for them and their belief in that. So I told every one of them this morning, I'll end with this. I got one goal. In 5 years, they walk out of here saying, Coach, that was the best decision I ever made. Okay, and that's really important to us, and that's the love and passion and accountability that we're going to have for all these guys, and we're going to do great things together. So I think everyone's going to win a title on signing day, right? We're excited about these guys and what they have for Demon Deacons. So with that, I'll open it up to any questions.
Coach, I'm curious about the international players. Who got to go on those trips? And when they were presented to you, what were your thoughts?
So one thing we do is I've learned from Coach Bull a long time ago, we're like grassroots in what we do. We still go out to camps, okay? And what you'll find in the European circuit, these academies are big. And what they do in the summer is they take these players, especially these Swedish players, okay, in a lot of different camps. And we saw these guys down at the Georgia camps, right? I was down at Mercer and Kennesaw. We identified them there. Just got to know them, and it's interesting to watch some of the football that's played over there and how to evaluate that. But Max, I think, has a tremendous amount of potential. And then Sefa is funny. He's from Ghana. He came over here to play basketball. And their athletic director and saw his potential, and he's been playing football for about 4 months. Okay, he's 6'7" plus. He's taken to the game. We withstood a late run by an SEC school on Monday night, and Cephas stayed committed to us. So just amazing stories about how these guys come about, and these guys are excited to be here soon. So I told Cepha, I said, well, I can't wait to watch him play basketball and dunking on people and just envision what he could do on the football field.
Was your first forward
Yeah.
here at Wade. What were you looking for? What does a Jake Dickert recruiting class kind of look like when you're trying to build the foundation and continue to establish this program that you're building? But also, you mentioned the execution of it all by your staff.
Yeah.
How does that execution happen? Like, how do you guys put this all together to really bring in the class that you're trying to envision here?
I think the first thing that I want to say about that is, like, when we talk to these kids, if they think development is a scary word, we don't recruit them, right? Everyone wants to have instant success. So we look at their ceilings, right? We recruit what they can be, and we share that vision with them in a very detailed process. I think the one thing that we are elite at, from Coach Rob on down, is the vision and what we're looking for, right? And everyone laughs, but we measure knee size of offensive linemen, right? Dylan Durbin's 245 pounds, right? But he's got an 18.5-inch knee. My man is going to be able to carry 305 pounds, right? And it's like sharing that vision with these guys to understand why we exactly do what we do. And if they want to partner in that, and they're willing to do the work that it takes to do that, man, that's a guy for us, right? So, man, it's a long process from, when we got here, and we'll start it now. You're watching junior tape. You go out in January, you try to get to know people. We're very diligent in our workout process. If I look at this list, there might be one or two of them that we haven't seen work out in person. We film those things. We evaluate those things. We try to get them to as many camps as possible, get them on campus many times so we know their character and their families to the highest degree. Get them back to on game day visits. And there is a lot of time spent, FaceTimes, Zooms, calls, right? And probably the group I miss the most is our coaches' families, right? The sacrifices that they make so we can talk and Zoom and spend time with other people's families is big. So this is a very detailed process that we have in recruiting. This doesn't happen by accident. We don't do it by emotions. We don't recruit rivals rankings. Because some of that stuff, once you get through it, no offense, okay, is people rating them. And, we had a guy that, Ohio State ended up flipping, and the next day, like, his ranking went up way up. It's like nothing changed. There's no new information. So finding the right people that want to partner with us for the right reasons is really important. And, that's how we're going to go about building this team.
First, no offense. Second, we talked about this at one of the last pressures in here about what you were selling in summer compared to the growth of the messaging during the season. Can you tell us some of the things you heard from this class and some of the things throughout the season that they're telling you as they're staying committed and seeing the tangible results in the last 3 months?
Yeah, I mean, especially the 5 North Carolina kids. I've set it up here, like, putting respect on Wake Forest football in our state has been very important to us. Continue to elevate that. And it goes from a perception of what we can do to seeing, like, it actually happen in reality. And, I always tell people when they come on visits, and we do a lot of game day visits because, like, I can tell you about our culture. I'm really good at it, right? But you feel it, right? And getting around our players is everything, So we asked our guys, like, what do you think of these guys? Do they fit, right? So when we're not watching, who are they really like? So I think this is a program effort to go out there and do it, but the response has been crazy. Like I get text messages from Fletcher Turk, like after a loss, like, Coach, when I'm there, like, this is never going to happen. You know what I mean? It like fires me up, right? So we got competitors and guys that want to raise the level of Wake Forest football. Like, so it's just passionate to see these guys and to keep them together, I think is really important because there's a lot of things that can happen. I'm very thankful for the signing date being early instead of the last week in December because a lot of these guys, just tremendous football players.
When you look through the defensive backs in this class, there's a lot of different playing skill sets from a snobby, about 6 foot, kind of smaller guy, Jake Marks, and then you have a 6'4" cornerback. What kind of skill sets were you looking to really replenish a room that you did pretty well replenishing to the portal?
Yeah, I mean, I think at most positions, Cam, you'll see that there isn't a prototype. Like that we do like a lot of varying degrees of athletes and sizes and skill sets. So, you know, like Sibby, you know, quick, fast, twitchy. AJ, you know, I think a guy that can come impact us in a quick order. You know, Mike is a big, tall, long guy that, heck, might grow into a strong safety like Nick Anderson, might be a linebacker someday. Like, you know, obviously Trey and Samad, I mean, guys that play both ways. I mean, just a lot of things that in our backfield and in our defense want guys that can mix and match in a lot of different ways. I think high school coaches, the elite players are at corner. I don't know why, because not a lot of teams pass the ball. And then we just take a lot of corners and, you know, now you're a safety, now you're a star, you know, now you end up growing bigger to strong. So the blended skill sets, I think at all the positions was what we're the most proud of. And I think that's what you'll see at, you know, linebacker with Monroe. I mean, he was rated the 10th best athlete in the country because he plays tight end too. So there's just a lot of things that I think we look for and we shape and we, you know, kind of mold the skill sets, right? So, you know, like Coach Bo would tell me, like, take as many quarterbacks as you can. Take as many running backs as you can, right? Because those guys are linebackers, they're DNs, they're safeties, you know. So, you know, we're not afraid of that type of development either.
Circle back to all 3 athletes, Monroe at linebacker, Walker Bryson position.
Walker will be a receiver.
And then Michael, I'm sure I'll pronounce this wrong, Ahua.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, Mike will start at like strong safety position, free safety. Monroe will be a linebacker. I think he's going to be fantastic. We see a lot of Frank Casano in him when we recruited Frank. And who was the other one? Walker. Yeah, Walker. I mean, part of the thing is like a lot of people nationally wanted him as safety. You know, we see him as that inside receiver and the multiplicity and all that type of stuff. So he prefers scoring touchdowns, and so do we.
And a little bit big picture-wise, you're recruiting guys that play multiple positions. Is that, you talk about not having a set position, but is that kind of the set position that you want, or the prototype would be guys with versatility in multiple positions?
Yeah, I mean, I've always said this. Remember, I almost turned into a high school coach myself. That if you got a Division I athlete that can be at the Power 4, and you're not playing them both ways, like, what are we doing, right? So I love guys that do that, and I do think it makes the recruiting and the how we analyze things easier. I love DBs that catch the ball. Like, you see a lot of different things in those regards. So reactive athleticism, how they take hits, and then we just talk about a lot. Like, Monroe's playing 100 snaps a game, right? Some of these guys have just never come off the field. So that is a big part of our evaluation process.
Quarterback is usually the one that gets talked about first. You bring in 2 with very different skill sets.
Yeah.
What did you see in kind of both of these guys? Again, this still on the senior year. And what expectations are you having with them coming in at next year?
Yeah, to compete and get used to this. We will probably bring in 2 quarterbacks a year. Okay, the one thing I'm dedicated as the head coach, and everybody knows, right, that position has to be right. And I'm not afraid of that. And these 2 guys have built a great relationship. The blended skill sets, once again, Grant's 6'4" plus, 10-inch hands, plays differently. Gannon is that snap thrower that we love, that we've talked about. I got to see him live in person this year before the injury. Competitive toughness, both of them. Elite leadership skill sets in both of them. great communicators and learners. I mean, you should see it's like Gruden fall camp, right? When we bring them in here for summer visits, right? And the way we kind of test their knowledge as well. So compete. Both of them be here at the mid-year. Both of them will start learning our offense. I think Gannon texted me already. He wants a playbook. I said, dude, you got a state championship, here in a little bit. So those are the type of players that you want. And I told this whole class the same thing. Come in ready to compete. This is a different era. The roster limits being 105, like you got to come in. I think one of the hardest things is for young people is to understand, like, it's hard. It's hard. So I should know the numbers, but I believe 18 of them are coming at the mid-year, and that's going to give them a big advantage.
The sense of who's going to be here early, and how do you balance bringing in guys early to build that foundation? And obviously, you have spots that you want to be able to fill through the portal.
There is a blend in today's world with the roster limits and how people can move on and off the rosters. I do believe once the 105 and the DSAs cycle out, you'll need 90% of your guys here in the spring. I think spring ball is going to take on a completely different vision here going forward in a very NFL model. But don't forget, college football is very developmental, so we're going to push to get those guys here. The only thing that's tough is 3 of the 4 linemen that we signed will be summer guys. I mean, that's probably the biggest position you like to get your hands on and start stuffing food inside of them, right? And getting them with Ben in the weight room, because man, these little linemen just completely excited about what they're going to bring to the table. So that's kind of our thoughts going forward on that.
This was the best recruiting class in Wake Forest history. How does that impact your strategy in the transfer portal going forward?
Well, I think, we've always said this from the moment we've been here, and I think signing 30 guys is to, we will have one more probably big cycle. I think we've talked about that on our roster and finding out what's best for this team going forward. I'll say it multiple times. I think year 2 is the hardest year. I do, because we brought 12 guys-ish with us from Washington State. We knew all those guys were good. Okay, a couple coaches had some guys that come with them. We knew those guys were good. You hit 70% on portal guys on average. You hit 50% on high school guys on average. That's what the numbers say. So we got to be ahead of the curve in everything that we do, right? So the diligence to the process is important. Building the team the right way is very important. I think Wake Forest provides an edge in today's world, academically, resource-wise, all those things that we can keep building the foundation the right way. So, the new calendar model, I think everyone has their opinion on that, keeps changing, and we're kind of navigating in real time that. So, as our guys are working through the retention process, we just signed 30 guys. I mean, there's a portal process that'll be coming here. I mean, there's just a lot of things happening quickly in real time.
There we go.
We got it.
Yeah. So, Coach, you're looking at this recruiting class that you brought in. Obviously, some of these relationships that you as a staff probably established with these guys at your previous stop when you were recruiting players and getting to know them. But I want to know how many of them also came into the picture a little bit later because of the success that you guys have had this season, but also the resources and the brand itself of Wake Forest, that it kind of presented itself that maybe there weren't options previously.
It was a little bit tough to get going on this class because when we got here, you had to put together a team through the portal, right? So it was paused. Then we started. Then we had to pause for spring portal. Then we had to go into the kind of the summer and beyond. I think one of the biggest things, maybe we're unique and different. I see a lot of college football only evaluating juniors and getting committed up as fast as possible. We will always try to do about half of our class that way. I believe, I got this from Craig Bull, and greatest, I think, evaluator of talent and developer out there, that if you're flatlining as a senior, it's a sign of bad things. Okay, I think there's a lot of guys that get passed up, but then when you're 17, 18, you make that big climb as a senior, there's a lot of guys out there that are available that just slip through the crack because people just get committed out. So we'll always do that. We had a bunch of guys that got committed during this season, and mostly because we're committed to doing it that way. What does that do? It stresses the system. We got 3 game day visits. A lot of coaches hate that as part of what we do. So I just think that's maybe what makes us unique or different. I don't know, but that's part of our process is finding guys that are rising, because when you're 18 years old, you should be getting better every day. And I think it says a lot about them as players and people too.
Coach, you mentioned the retention process. Have you already started having those conversations with guys on the roster, and have you started kind of figuring out what you might need to address in the portal due to what may happen with the portal here at Wake Forest?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think college football is obviously different and unique. Every year's guys got to make decisions that are best for them and the team. We have elite level of communication. I think that's the biggest part. We've already started that process. Guys are meeting with Rob right now to work out that piece, and you know how this works. I mean, there's coaches from all over the country calling your guys. Like, that is how it works now. So we got to do a really good job of keeping this team together, which I think there's a general brotherhood here that they want to do it, right? So I'm just excited about everything that we're doing and the resources that have been provided to us to go out there and build the best team every single season.
Brotherhood, is there an excitement you feel with the roster from what the success you've had this year, staying around and building and continue to build on the success?
I hope they feel what's possible. I think there's exciting times ahead. You look back on it, and obviously we didn't play our best the last football game. That team's in the ACC championship. The other team that's there, that's highly CFP rated. I mean, we went on the road and we beat those guys. So you feel like, why not us? And I think that's the beauty of the ACC. Any week you can lose a game, any week you can win a game. And as we continue to keep our core of our guys together and keep elevating, each and every day, because I told the old guys, and I met with a lot of those guys already, is that sustaining success is really hard. Just thinking because you got a lot of the same people coming back on defense, we're just going to be good again. It doesn't work like that, right? So that edge to build something needs to be the same edge that takes your program to the next level. And I think that's what we will find as we go throughout bowl prep, but we're about 6 weeks away from winter training. The cycle never sleeps. So excited about, getting that stuff going when that time comes.
Anything else for Coach, guys? Yeah. Brian, can you pass it over here?
Coach, as a student at Wake Forest, I always appreciate the kind of people that I'm surrounded by that are athletes. They're always very involved in class and just great people to talk to. This year, with your first recruiting cycle, how have you gone about trying to find not only good football players, but good people to have on campus?
Yeah, I think it all comes down to not having surface level conversations. It's easy just to call you up every week and say, hey, how'd the game go? Tell me about it. What's your passion? One of the biggest questions I ask flat out, why do you love football? Because you're going to dedicate and sacrifice a lot of your time to it. Why do you want to be elite both at academics and athletics, right? Because I think that bleeds over into every phase of your life, right? So guys got to communicate. If you can't communicate in today's world and you just want to operate on Twitter, Wake Forest is going to be miserable, right? So I just think it's the way they carry themselves. I mean, do they say thank you on the visit, right? I mean, are you appreciative of all the investment that's been laid before you? Because remember, 15 years ago, the guys used to walk into that little facility across the way, right? And they didn't have anything to sell. We got a lot of great resources. Resources are great. Do you have the mental makeup and intestinal fortitude to take advantage of every opportunity you get, right? And I think when we do that every single day, we get the right people. Okay, and once again, we communicate with our guys. You were with them on a Saturday night. What was he like, right? So, those are things that I think we do that matter to us. And yeah, every once in a while I got to have the conversation, hey, this isn't going to work out. They're interviewing us on a visit. We're interviewing them. Those interactions matter. Right? That's why I'm really proud of this group that, they're going to represent us to the highest fashion always, even in the classroom. And they're way smarter than me.
All right, Coach, are we able to ask you about the extension you signed?
Mm-hmm.
Is that all right? So, one, how did that come together? What did that process kind of look like? And two, I think when you first got here, you talked about being aligned with the administration, the vision that you saw, and has everything met exactly what you expected or exceeded what you expected when you took the job just last year?
Yeah, I'll start there. I think everything has exceeded my expectation. I remember, like about 11 months ago, sitting in that press room at Bridger, and like everyone's like, "Who is this guy?" And never heard of this guy in my life, right? So the support from that, and I remember my first meeting with Ben Sutton, Bob McCreary, Alan Fox, and like just felt right away like I'm here because they want to win, right? And they want to do it the right way. And I meant it from a family standpoint, from a community standpoint. John approached me, obviously very appreciative of what we're doing. It's funny because I've had that happen before, and then we lost some games. I'm like, John, go away, right? And then I'm like, well, let's not do that. So I just think it's important to set a foundation, right? Because as soon as you win, everyone's like, oh, where's Coach going, and what's all this stuff happening? And you guys know, as a coach, like you're either getting extended or something's going bad, right? And that's what we accept too. So to have that type of support and that backing, to say that we support you no matter what, go build a program, was really important to us. And to have the resources for our staff is huge. The resources for our players is huge, right? So that means a lot to me and in our program, and hopefully it means a lot to the recruits today to say, hey, coach is invested in this.
Anything else for Coach Russ? Yeah, Cam.
Back to the acquisition part of things, I know with the new rule of the board we talked about months ago, there's a break between now and when you can actually technically talk to them. How do you go about evaluating the kind of guys that you want, given you don't have that time frame to really get to know these guys? Is it awkward at a certain point to have these, I know the changes come off in some ways, but is it awkward at times to figure out, okay, this is a new thing that we're going to have to?
Well, John was on the competition committee, and we were pitching a communication period, okay? Just say December 20th, right? It opens, and you can talk to these guys. Don't disrupt some of the bull stuff with the visits, and then you can visit them. Now it is just literally like, here's going to be 10,000 people go, right? So how do you manage that, So we're working through it in real time. You got to have a plan. You got to evaluate them. You got to pre-screen them. You got to see who puts it out on Twitter now. Like, there's a huge operation that goes into this, okay? I'll just say this. I'm a big fan of the CFP being 28 teams. People want to play in the playoffs, right? I think our bowl system is a little archaic in that realm. I think you can do like a NIT 16 teams, right? And play in playoffs and win championships. And I think there's a lot of things that can happen that can really, make kids want to play in the playoffs and stuff. So as we keep navigating the calendar, sometimes we keep putting Band-Aids on things, and then we're like, ooh, that didn't work, right? Now we got to have another committee meeting and another vote to try to fix that problem. So we'll see how it all goes, but January 2nd will be an absolute sprint. And obviously we start school January 12th. So just the cooperation from campus and academics and enrollments and faculty and our academic staff. I mean, the stress that is put on people like that used to enjoy vacation is different, and we're appreciative of all those people. You love it because you don't need a vacation in January, right? Right. Well, thank you guys so much. Appreciate it. Go Deeks. Amen.